Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Thursday, September the 7th, 2023. It is an exciting day for Bayou Bets and for a lot of you because today is NFL's opening night. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Detroit Lions. We have so much to talk about. We're not going to waste any time. I am Jim Derry, along with my friend Spencer the Guru. Urquhart is here. Zoe Collins-Wrath is behind the scenes. And how pumped up are you, Spence, for tonight?
Oh, very pumped, Jim. This is what we've been waiting for, man. All this months of analysis, preparation, it's finally coming. It's finally here. And yeah, can't wait to see what this Chiefs-Lions contest is going for. Fun fact for y'all, is the highest over-under total, despite the fact that Travis Kelce is a game-time decision. Might drop a little bit if he's out, but still, it's one of only two contests with a total over 50 points. So it should be a good amount of points put up tonight.
We are going to get into that. We're going to get into a lot of things. In fact, here are our topics for the day. As we told you, Lions and Chiefs open up the NFL 2023 season tonight on NBC at 7:20. The Saints begin their season at home on Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. We're going to spend plenty of time talking about not only the Saints game against the Titans and what we think needs to happen, but maybe some things about, how we're viewing the season. The Saints preview comes out tomorrow here at bet.NOLA.com tomorrow morning at 9:30. Tulane hosts Ole Miss, as well as LSU is hosting Grambling. Boy, they need to bounce back. I mean, I'm sure they're going to bounce back. Man, we never got a chance to talk that because we were off Monday. And then we'll make our picks at the end of the show. We're looking forward to that. A reminder to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. If you haven't already, a lot of you have. We thank you for that. If you're watching somewhere else, go check us out. You'll always get notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday and Thursday. And then about to start Datitude 3 times a week as well. We'll have a fun Datitude we'll talk about at the end of the show as well. That's coming up tomorrow. Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. And remember that Caesars Sportsbook is the official odds partner of bet.NOLA.com. Okay, let's get into it, Spencer. We're going to talk about the Chiefs and the Lions. We'll give our picks on this game in just a little bit, but just talk about how important it is. The talk has been, and I've never seen a line drop as much as it's dropped for a position player like this one has. Just the speculation that Kelce may not play tonight has dropped this line. It was 6.5 just a couple days ago. It is now Kansas City minus 4.5. The trendy Lions are still trending because Aunt Mabel, Drunk Joe, and all of her friends are betting on the Detroit Lions, not just tonight, but throughout the season. There's a lot of future bets on the Lions. But this game in particular, Spencer, what do you see as far as the importance of Kelce? And we haven't even talked about Chris Jones, who won't play either, defensive lineman for the Chiefs, who is still in a holdout situation, has now forfeited $2 million because he wants a raise. I don't think that would work for me too well. But what do you think about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, this is a game that's shaping up well for these trendy Lions. This is a huge game for them, a huge opportunity for them to make a statement. Detroit rarely gets primetime games. They've been so bad for the past ever since I've been alive. And Lions have never had a very good team. I mean, they had that 1 year with Stafford. But the bottom line is this year's Lions team has to come out tonight and make a statement, at least compete well. You don't want to get blown out. And with the Chiefs being a little vulnerable, no Chris Jones. I mean, Chris Jones, their best defensive player, and then possibly no Travis Kelce. They're by far their best weapon. I think this is a chance for Detroit to really make some noise.
Guess what, Spencer? The Detroit Lions haven't been good as long as I've been alive either. So that just goes to show you how long it's been. They're terrible. In fact, if you want to find the terrible of terriblest, that's who they are. Detroit Lions. And look, last year, even though they had a 9-8 record, and I'm not sure why everybody thinks they're so great. I mean, they were 32nd, which means worst. In case you don't know, there are 32 teams in the NFL. That means worst. They are worst in the league in defense at 32nd. Yeah, they did a few things to get better, but I don't say they're going to jump up that far. And to me, to be honest, if you've got to be, I think you've got to be at least have somewhere 20 or above. You got to be in the top 20 in defense, I think, to have a chance to win a conference championship, which is a lot of people talking, not just the NFC North. A lot of people think the Lions can win the NFC, and I think that's a little insane. I'm not a Jared Goff fan either, but as far as tonight goes, to me, the Kansas City Chiefs are still the Kansas City Chiefs, and might as well go ahead and make my pick. I think I've let it be known. I think you're getting a steal that this line has gone down to 4.5. By the way, if you're watching, you want to make your pick on anything we talk about, feel free to leave it in the comment section. We'll put it on the air. I just don't get it. I think Kansas City wins this game, and I think they win it fairly easily because they have a guy named Patrick Mahomes who is the best player on the planet, maybe the best player I've ever seen on the planet. And I'm betting on Mahomes every time if you're only given 4.5 in a home opener against the Detroit Lions.
It's hard to bet against him, but I'm going to be crazy and do it. I think Detroit can at least cover this. I think they can come within a field goal because I really like what they did this offseason. I feel like they made the necessary improvements to be the NFC North champions this year and win 10-plus games. I like that they overhauled their backfield. I know, Jim, you had said you weren't a big fan of that, but I feel like David Montgomery is an upgrade over Jamal Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs a huge upgrade over DeAndre Swift. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a real difference maker for them alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got the rookie tight end Sam Laporta to help make up for the loss of TJ Hawkinson. So I think this Lions offense will be able to go toe-to-toe with KC. It's just the defense. They did make improvements there as well, really beefed up the secondary. But, yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes we're talking here. So I don't know if I can quite go as far as to pick them straight up, but I'll take the points.
I'm not being contrarian just to be contrarian. I want to know why you think that Jahmyr Gibbs is so much better than DeAndre Swift. Now, look, Swift has had his injury issues. I'll give you that. So you don't know from week to week if Swift is going to have to miss a game or two. But when he's in there, to me, he's dynamic.
He's pretty good. I think Gibbs, though, is a better receiver out of the backfield. I think he's going to really open that up because they need receiver help. But Jamison Williams suspended. They're going to have the veterans in there, Marvin Jones, Josh Reynolds. But I feel like that Gibbs, if Gibbs is who they say he is, which he looks the part, then I think that's going to take their offense to being maybe the best in the NFC this year. Because I think the Eagles take a little step back.
Well, I definitely think the Eagles take a step back. If anyone's watched my previews, I picked Dallas to win the NFC East, and I think Dallas is a Super Bowl contender. I think they're – look – we can talk all we want, and maybe Monday after the post-mortem settles. I wish had we had a show on Monday, we probably would have been talking about our top future bets. And really, to me, one of my top future bets is the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is the year they started getting things together. I think Dak has some serious weapons. I think the Eagles take a step back. I do think the Eagles are good. I think they're like a 10-win team, but I don't think they're Super Bowl again. We shall see. That's coming up. We'll have lots of things to talk about. I'm interested to see if on Monday, obviously we're going to be talking about the Saints, but will we also be talking about, all right, can we quiet the noise in Detroit now? Because if they get blown out, I mean, I know you took Detroit, but if I'm right and they lose by, let's say, 2 touchdowns, can we tone down the rhetoric on the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, I think we'll have to at that point, but I'm gonna ride with them. Right. They're due for something, man. We're believing. I'm not gonna get the tattoo like some of these crazy fans they got because they're so desperate for success. But I definitely think they're for real this year and that they're gonna make the playoffs and win the division.
All right, Spencer's on the Lions. I am big time on the Chiefs tonight. I will be certainly giving the 4.5, and I will be thanking the gambling gods for an early gift. All right, let's move on. The New Orleans Saints opening the season against Tennessee. Big litmus test for 2023. And I'm going to say why I think so. Because, after this game, Spencer, the Saints, as easy as their schedule is overall, just if you put the whole 18-week thing in front of you, it's an easy schedule. However, that being said, and you know what, I actually have the schedule, so I'll throw it up here. But if you talk about the Saints, that first 6 weeks, I know just looking at it with the naked eye, maybe it isn't that tough, but now you play Tennessee, but then you play 4 of your next 5 on the road. I think Carolina is much improved. I think Green Bay is going to be way better than anyone thinks they're going to be. I think New England is in one of the toughest divisions in football and still going to win 7 or 8 games. And then Houston, we'll see how C.J. Stroud and company does. The point is, you got to play 3 straight season openers, 2 on someone else's turf. That is not easy. Then it does open up, and I think it does get easier. But to me, if the Saints can navigate through this and, go 4-2 or even 3-3 somewhere along the line, I think this could be a great start. It all starts to me on Sunday, Spence. They have got to play well against Tennessee. And I really, I'm not going to call it a must win. It'd be silly to call week 1 a must win against a non-conference or non-division foe. But to say how important this game is, we've got to see a lot from Derek Carr, this offensive line, and have this defense be able to stop Derrick Henry.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking that Derrick Henry runs wild. I think the Saints defense, is going to have a lot of trouble with him. I'm pretty concerned about that. But the thing I'm not that concerned about is the Saints offense being able to put up points in this one. I think Derek Carr and company are going to come out firing on all cylinders. Titans defense, very suspect against the pass. Didn't really do much to beef up their secondary this offseason. So I'm thinking Olave and company have really good games. They got a healthy Michael Thomas there to take attention away from the deep bombs. I'm thinking that between Thomas and Juwan Johnson moving the chains and Olave and Shaheed stretching the field, I think the Saints offense could put up well over 20, maybe even over 30 points, which is why I feel like the over is a really good play. Over 41 would be my best bet here because, like I said, I'm concerned with the Saints defense here. Saints defense typically starts off slow. It's other than that opener a couple years ago against Green Bay, the Saints defense normally stinks in week 1. And I know Tannehill's not that great, but you got DeAndre Hopkins and, of course, Derrick Henry, I think is going to run for close to 100 yards. But I'm thinking Carr and company can bail them out.
Little trivia question for you. I know you haven't had a chance to read my NFL picks column this morning, which is out on bet.NOLA.com. Derrick Henry has played 7 week 1 games. How many yards do you think he's averaged on opening day on the ground?
I would say 70.
You're high. 56.3. In 7 seasons, in 7 seasons on opening day, he has scored just 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown on opening day.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
One of the reasons why I do like the Saints in this game is because kind of the opposite of what you said. I actually think this is going to be more of a defensive struggle from both sides. I think Derek Carr is going to take a little time to get used to playing. Look, he only played 1 drive the entire preseason. I think that's going to hurt. I get why he only played one drive, and I'm not knocking Dennis Allen for that. I get it. But I think this is going to be a lower scoring game because I think both and you know what? Tennessee's offense, their first string offense, didn't play together at all. Not even 1 drive. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry didn't even dress out for a preseason game. So these 2 teams are going to come in, I think, a little bit rusty. And it's a reason. In fact, Derrick Henry hasn't played in a preseason game in 4 years. There's a reason. They're scared that he's going to get hurt. He's your bell cow. They get Tajay Spears has played quite a bit in the preseason. He should be a big factor in this game. But I actually like the under. That is not my top play, though. I think the Saints win this game. I think they win by a touchdown. I got the score is 22-15. I think the Saints open at home. I think the crowd's going to be crazy. I think Derek Carr is going to be pumped up. I do think it's going to start kind of slow and then kind of pick up. And I think the Saints are going to win this one going away. I just think that they're a better football team. And actually, Ryan Tannehill on opening day has averaged 203.8 yards passing. So you put those 2 together, Tannehill with an average of 203.8 and Henry with an average of 56.3. That doesn't equate very well. And again, it's because these guys don't play in the preseason. That's Mike Vrabel's way, I guess, Spence, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like both these teams are kind of slow starters, but
yeah,
I mean, Carr didn't play much. I mean, most of the ones for the Saints, they played that 1 series, but they didn't play the second game with the weather stuff in California, and in the third game they didn't play. So I don't really worry about preseason. I don't really see that being an issue. I feel like someone like Derrick Henry, he's going to be ready to go. And so I'm just worried that because the Saints defensive front, especially the 2 tackle spots, are brand new starters at both those spots. Will they be able to handle a player the caliber of Derrick Henry at running back? I'm not so sure, but I'm confident enough though in Derek Carr in the passing game where I'm not too worried about it because I'm thinking that with all those weapons, Tennessee's secondary, they're going to have their hands full all day. I think this will be a fun one to watch, but this total is kind of low. I'm taking the over, but we shall see. I know
we're against each other twice in a row. I'm on the under, but it is not my top play. My top play is actually Saints -3. You got to lay 115 to win 100 to get it. We've kind of talked about that in our pre-production meeting. Spencer, the line has moved a little bit. The sharp money has been on Tennessee. This line started earlier in the week at 3.5, and you don't see a whole lot of 3.5s moving off of that half because that hook's there for a reason. So it doesn't move off the 3.5 a whole lot. But so for it to do that, that's significant. Drops all the way to 3. And again, you got to lay 115 and win 100 if you want to bet on the Saints at -3. You got to lay 105 to win 100 if you want to bet on Tennessee +3. But still, again, big bettors betting on the Titans in this game. It's not enough to make me jump off the Saints, but it is a pause for concern, or a cause for concern, I should say.
Right, because I think the Sharps see the flaws with the Saints. They see that the Saints' run defense
Yep.
was, I mean, as a whole last year was pretty rough. And then this year there's a lot of question marks there, new players. So if Derrick Henry goes for over 100, and that's the concern, is that to me is that if they control the clock, Derek Carr and company might not have enough opportunities, and they have to get a lot of big plays. And we know how big plays are kind of fickle. So I think they'll be able to hit enough to squeak out the win, but I definitely think this will be a very close game. I'll go ahead and I'll say 27-24 Saints. I think the 3 is right where it's going to be. So I'm not going to play the spread. I'll take the over.
We shall see. Also, you see the numbers on the screen there. Saints win totals have been kind of bouncing around. They've stayed at 9.5, but that over-under mark has kind of been moving. It was -110 last week, but after we got off the air, I noticed it went to +100 on the over, which means straight up even money. Sharp money came in against the Saints, and then it came back on the Saints because it's back where it was last week. So it's a true 9.5. I think most of the sharps see the Saints winning this division. But Spencer, one thing is sharps will tell you that week 1 is the hardest week to bet. I mean, realistically, because you don't really know what you're dealing with. Again, you talk about preseason doesn't mean anything. You can't really tell a whole lot by who's doing what. We don't know the effect of some of these players. I mean, we can think David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are really going to boost the Lions. I mean, even if we think that, we don't know. We don't know if how much things, last year, everybody was talking about how Tyreek Hill leaving Kansas City. People were saying they're under 10.5 last year was a bargain. I mean, they blew through that and before on their way to winning the Super Bowl. So it's just week 1 is hard. And I think that obviously sharps get better as the season go along. So I think that's part of the reason why the numbers been changing. People might not realize if they haven't done a lot of research, they're not going to realize that Derrick Henry starts slow, that he starts averaging 56.3 yards rushing in week 1. And to me, that is a big deal. And even though the Saints haven't been great against the run the past few years, especially last year, they were in the 20s, even though that overall ranked as 5th. Like you say, they have not been great against the run. They have struggled. They struggled last year against a team that can run the football. Obviously, Tennessee can run the football. So we shall see what it means. Something's got to give on Sunday afternoon.
Right. Yeah, we'll know a lot more about not just the Saints and Titans, but a lot of these teams, because like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Week 1, toughest week to bet. I would recommend if you're betting, just play it cool this week. Just make little small bets, maybe do half unit bets, because it's just, I mean, we don't have any data yet on 2023. Yeah, we can look back at last year, but we know how football goes. Things change drastically from year to year. So yeah, take week 1, approach it with caution, but enjoy the fun, because I love it, because we really get to see how these new teams are coming together.
With that, all of my best bets later on are NFL picks. So take that with a grain of salt as well. Lastly, before we move on, I do want to talk about the news of the week, kind of, which in the grand scheme of things isn't affect all that much. But I mean, how strange is it that a third-string quarterback, Jake Haener, is caught and is suspended for using PEDs, suspended for 6 games. Now, again, it's not going to affect the Saints whatsoever. He's not the second-string quarterback. Something happens to Derek Carr, it's going to be Jameis Winston. But for a rookie to be suspended for PEDs, especially a rookie quarterback, that's going to be, sort of a practice squad kind of guy. Were you surprised to hear this?
Yeah, definitely, because he's going to lose out on some money for that. So that was a really dumb decision on his part. So if it was an accident, he's going to have to figure out what kind of supplements he's taking and get that corrected, because it's a good thing when I saw it, I was like, well, a good thing it wasn't anyone that mattered, because I've been the last thing you'd want to see. Oh, someone gets popped. I mean, I already got Kamara got popped with 3 games. So the last thing the Saints need is another suspension. So hopefully the kid can learn what he needs to put in his body, because there are legal supplements you can take that aren't freaking PEDs. So he's got to learn what's legal and not legal.
Elray's a little harsh. He says he needed some HGH to see over the line. Now, I mean, look, granted, supposedly he and Drew Brees are about what and what when it comes to height. Drew Brees says he was 6 feet.
He is. He is.
Maybe in a dream. I've stood next to Drew Brees multiple times, and he's more than 2 inches shorter than me, and I'm 6'2", maybe in like with some good heels on. I don't know.
I mean, I met him one time too. He was slightly taller than me, and I'm 5'11", so he's 6 feet, unless he had something in his shoes. But
well, that's also Elray says he is not. Drew Brees is not 6 feet, and neither is Jake Haener. Is not even close to 6 feet. So anyway, moving on. We're going to stop talking about people's height. Not that it matters, but if he needed to see HGH to see over the line, maybe it gives him a big head. You know, people say I have a big
Barry Bonds is hat size.
Barry Bonds. There you go. Perfect example. Let's move on and talk about college. We want to spend most of our college talk on Tulane, but I do want to bring this up. I mean, obviously, Grambling is playing at LSU this week, and it's significant for the purposes of, it was hard for me to believe, and I had to go look this up. Grambling opened in 1901, obviously, in HBCU. LSU opened in 1860. The fact that they're playing for the first time is kind of insane to me. I'm glad LSU played Southern last year and that it opened up the Baton Rouge Highway just a couple miles from one another. But why is LSU playing Grambling for the first time? They should have played long ago. That's my soapbox for the day.
Yeah, I can't believe it is the first time they're playing. Wow, that's shocking to me because I know Grambling had those really good teams back in the day. So yeah, that's
they did, and I think that if they would have played each other maybe back in the early 70s, I think LSU might have lost again.
Yeah, they're probably scared of them. That's probably what it was. LSU didn't want to risk losing.
They always say it's like, LSU dropped Tulane because they say there was kind of a no-win situation there. And look, when I was in high school, LSU lost to Tulane twice, once 48-7, and LSU fans never heard the end of it. So one of the years LSU went to the Orange Bowl and lost to Tulane in the season finale, I think in 1984 in Baton Rouge, and Tulane fans were throwing oranges on the field. It was not a good moment for Tigers fans, but still, you would think after this long that they would have played each other before now. But what do you want to see out of this LSU team? Obviously, there's no line even on this game. They should win this game by probably 7 touchdowns or more. But, I mean, just the disappointing taste that they have in their mouths after last week's loss. Not so much that they lost, but the way they lost. And, I said going in that I was worried that LSU's defensive backs were not going to be able to hang with the physical nature of Florida State's receivers that came to fruition. I mean, I thought LSU would lose, but I didn't think they'd lose like that.
Yeah, that was wild. I remember when we were talking about that game, breaking it down last week, I was talking about strengths and weaknesses, and it turns out the real weakness there was LSU secondary. So, yeah, and this week, just gotta be sound, clean, execute, no turnover, just the simple coach speak cliches. Just gotta execute well, and don't let this become a thing where you start off slow and give them hope. Just make it just easy where you can pull Jaden and company at halftime.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's exactly what you want to do. Almost treat it sort of like a preseason game, but you can't necessarily. You have to get these guys some continuity. And I tell you what, this defensive backfield, I think they'll get better as the season went along. But I also think that LSU is probably a little bit too cocky, a little too big for their own britches. And I think they got knocked down a peg. In a way, it could help them in the long run. Losing last year to Florida State helped them. I don't know if losing like this helps. We're going to find out. Gabe Henderson says LSU's running game was non-existent against Florida State. Need to dominate in the trenches. I agree, but you know what? We don't even know what LSU's running game is because they gave up on it like after the first quarter. I mean, while they were still winning, they stopped running the football. John Emery was on the sideline, dressed out, so I'm not sure why he didn't play, but he's got to be in there, and I think he's going to have to be a big part of this team for them to be any good. Guess we'll see.
Yeah,
go ahead, Spencer.
Oh yeah, and gotta start being more conservative. Brian Kelly's got to dial back these going for it on 4th and short and then throwing. It's just come on, BK. I mean, you've been a coach way too long to be doing stuff like that. I mean, it's way too reckless. He's got to dial that stuff back.
Don't tell that to Zach Ewing. He likes that. Anyway. All right, let's move on to the much bigger college game. 2 ranked teams playing each other this weekend on Saturday at Yulman Stadium. It is the Ole Miss Rebels and the Tulane Green Wave. Ole Miss is a 7.5-point favorite. I was kind of surprised that it was that high. In fact, it was 6.5 at one point, I think, early in the week. I think that's what it was when I did this early in the week. Can't completely remember, but that high total of 66 just goes to show that I don't think Ole Miss can stop anyone. So this is going to be an interesting game. Obviously, our picks are on the screen. We'll talk about our picks part of the whole thing, but Spencer, Tulane has a chance to shock the pundits, and I am baffled. Again, why do people are so high on Ole Miss after their kind of collapse last year, and they're still not buying into Tulane after they beat USC in the Rose Bowl, and they are essentially, I know you lose Tajay, but they're essentially the same team. They lost a couple players on defense. They proved it last week. South Al is a good football team, and Tulane handled them easily.
Right. Yeah. Tulane really surprised me last week. I was thinking they'd kind of struggle with South Al and trying to squeak it out at the end. But no, they dominated from start to finish. Michael Pratt really looked the part, which is why I'm thinking this is going to be a back and forth shootout. I mean, I think Michael Pratt, Jackson, Dart going to be trading blows. I think that total there, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable enough to bet the over 66 is high, but I think it could go over because those two duking it out is going to be really fun. I would be a little higher on Tulane, but the linebacker, Corey Platt, their lead tackler from last week, is out this week, unfortunately. I believe it was an Achilles injury.
Yep.
So that's going to hurt their defense. So, I don't think they'll be able to quite slow down Ole Miss enough to pull it off. But I'll take the points. I think they could keep this within a touchdown for sure. So I like the value there with the plus 7.5.
I don't just like the value with the plus 7.5. I think there's great value on the money line. I'm taking the Tulane money line plus 240. I've been saying, Garland Gillen asked me back in July what I thought about this game. I said in July I thought Tulane would win, and I think in September Tulane's going to win. I think Lane Kiffin is one of the most overrated coaches in college football. I don't think Ole Miss is that great. I think they're going to pull another Ole Miss, and people think they're going to be good. They'll fall apart later on. They'll win a couple games, and people think they'll be good again, and then it'll come to the end, and they'll stink because they're Ole Miss. So I think Tulane's better than Ole Miss. I really do. I think they're obviously better coached. I think it's going to be like you. I do think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to go back and forth, and I think it's going to be one of the more fun games to watch. I think number 20 Ole Miss, number 24 Tulane. I am looking forward to this one. I will be watching it. 2:30 p.m. on ESPN. I've got the Tulane money line. I'm going to keep this slide up because just briefly before we get to our picks, and I know it is one of your picks, I want to talk about Alabama and Texas, which is obviously the biggest college football game of the week. I'm going to ask for your pick in just a minute, but just as far as games go, we kind of talked in pre-production, and, Thomas was talking about how, Alabama never plays anyone at home. Well, they're playing someone at home this year. They're used to playing like Louisiana Monroe and stuff like that. Nick Saban finally decided, you know what? I'll play a big boy at home. I think it might backfire on him.
Oh, this is one that was kind of tough for me to pick, but I started doing more research, and I got to side with Nick Saban here because Alabama at home is a different animal. They've had a few slip-ups on the road, but at home very rarely slip up. And I feel like this is a mission team for Nick Saban. He's had a lot of doubters this offseason, but I'm thinking a new quarterback there, Jalen Milroe. He looked the part last week. I know it was an inferior opponent there in Middle Tennessee, but I'm thinking that this Saban team is one that's going to really have a chip on its shoulder. And while Texas is doing good things with Quinn Ewers, I don't think they're going to be able to quite hang with Bama at home. I like Alabama to cover this. I think they win by 10, maybe even 14. I think this Bama team is legit, even though it's got a lot of new pieces. But that's every year with these Nick Saban teams. They lose guys at the draft and reload, and I don't think Nick Saban's done yet. I think this team is still going to be among the best. So I can't buy into Texas this week.
All right. This is one of your best bets again, and I didn't have time to make a best bet slide. Again, I promise next week we'll have our bet slide up on the screen. I just ran out of time. But one of Spencer's best bets is Alabama -7 over Texas. It's not one of my best bets, and I don't want to go as far to say as I think Texas will win outright, although it wouldn't surprise me. I think Texas is almost as good as Alabama. Their quarterback situation, I don't care what anyone says. It's a mess. Nick Saban doesn't want to name a starting quarterback because he wants to be able to jump around as much as he wants, which means he doesn't have faith in any of his quarterbacks. I just don't think Alabama is the same Alabama team. I said, again, another thing I said in July, and I stand by, I think Alabama is like an 8-win football team this year. I think they take a major step backward. I think this could be the year that Nick Saban says, you know what, I'm going to go out like Bear did back in 1981 or 82. I think this could be it for Nick Saban. I really do. A lot of people think I'm crazy because he just signed a long contract extension, but contract extensions don't mean anything when you're 71 or 72 years old. And Nick Saban, we'll see. If they go 8-3 or 8-4 and go into a bowl game and kind of limp in, does he want to go through this again? If they're going to go into the next year with the same quarterback situation? We shall see. Anyway, I think Texas is going to put up a big fight. It's going to be fun. There's one other game on this note, on this list, and I don't know if it's one of your best bets or not, Spencer, but obviously we want to talk about Colorado and Nebraska quickly. Is Coach Prime really, is this, he's taking receipts. Is this big of a deal as we saw? I predicted Colorado to win, or I predicted them to cover. I don't think I predicted them to win. They did way better than I thought they could even do. Shedeur Sanders was outstanding. He was fun to watch. And to be honest, he really might have been the best quarterback I saw last weekend, period. And at any college game, he was fantastic. I don't know if he can continue this, but I got to tell you, I don't think Nebraska's any good. Sorry, Amy Just. I think Colorado wins this game easily.
Man, well, I'll admit this. I was wrong about Colorado last week. I didn't think they'd be able to hang with TCU, but they did, and they looked really impressive while doing so. The thing is, TCU's defense, awful defense there with TCU. I think the thing with Nebraska, well, I'm not making a pick against the spread here because I'm not sure who's going to win it. I think it's going to be a really close game. The thing with Nebraska, though, their defense, I feel like is a little bit better than Colorado. So I think they're going to humble Shedeur Sanders a little bit in that Colorado passing attack because TCU had no chance. TCU is just terrible at the secondary there. But I think Nebraska keeps this one close. So I like the under. The total 59.5. I'm taking the under. I think this will be a little different kind of game. I think it'll be a little more of a defensive kind of game. I don't think it's going to be the shootout like we saw last week. And it wouldn't shock me if Coach Prime pulls off another upset. Well, they're the favorites this time, so wouldn't be an upset. They're ranked now in the top 25, but I just don't feel confident enough to take them with the points. So I'm gonna take the under here. I think Nebraska's defense helps keep this thing under, and Colorado's defense should be able to contain Nebraska's offense enough because Nebraska's offense isn't very good.
Zoe's in seventh heaven right now. Should have Northwestern going to meet Nebraska. So can Colorado. I mean, got a point. I think Nebraska's any good. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Coach Prime. You know, Travis Hunter for Heisman. Hey, look, if you could play both ways the way that dude did, that's insane. That guy was so insane. I mean, that guy was insane. All right, let's get to our best bets. We should have ended the show already, but we can't do it without giving you our best bets. I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to leave these numbers on the screen. You were picking, I think, 2 other college games and 2 pro games.
Actually, 3 pro games.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I picked both my college games. It was Alabama -7, Nebraska, Colorado under 59.5. So my 3 pro games, I like the Jags this week. Jags -5 over the Colts. I feel like they're going to roll in that one. Trevor Lawrence, y'all know I like Trevor Lawrence. I think him and that offense are going to come out firing. The Colts, Anthony Richardson, I think it's going to be a rough transition. I don't see him scoring many points there. So I think the Jags cover with ease. The other game where I like a favorite there, the Seahawks -5.5. I think they're going to roll the Rams. Even though the Rams, I know you like them this year, Jim, but Cooper Kupp's out. I mean, what are they going to do on offense? They don't have Cooper Kupp. So to me, the Seahawks.
Van Jefferson, baby.
I got him at my last pick of our fantasy draft. So maybe he'll do something, but not enough to me to keep him in this game. Matthew Stafford's not getting any younger. Geno's trending up. Give me the Seahawks there to cover. And then the Bears-Packers. I know you're going to disagree with me. Oh, yes, I am. But I got the Bears. I got the Bears -1. I think the Bears to get it done because Jordan Love is going to be hurting because Christian Watson pulled his hamstring this week. There's a good chance Christian Watson doesn't play. And even if he does, I don't think he's going to be 100%. Dobbs doesn't play either. Exactly. I think Green Bay's offense is going to be an absolute mess. So give me the Bears, man. Justin Fields, Packers run defense stinks. I think Justin Fields is going to have a big day.
You're missing something here, though. You're missing something. You're missing a fact. The Bears stink. Sorry, Zoe. The Bears stink. I don't
They're
care.
better. They're better.
They're better at what? I mean, nobody's
They
giving Jordan
improved
Love any
their whole
credit
defense,
whatsoever.
improved their O-line. That's a different team. I think the Bears win 8 games this year.
That's iffy. It wouldn't shock me if they won 8 games, but I think it's going to be more like 6. All right, since we are both taking that game in one form or fashion, I'll start there. It's not my number one pick, but I am taking the Green Bay Packers +1 over the Chicago Bears. Here's a question for you. You want to know? Let's see. They're out of the last 25 games, and I don't care. Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. It doesn't make a difference. It's the fact that the Bears don't think they can beat the Packers. 25 games. The Packers have won 22 of them. 22 of the last 25 games have been won by the Green Bay. Remember what Aaron Rodgers says? We own you. That's the Packers. Sorry, Zoe. She's not liking this. I can tell you. She might cut me off soon. She might click the end show button before I can. All right, Cleveland is my next pick, and I know a lot of people are going to like this because there's a lot of Who Days here in New Orleans. Cleveland 2.5, getting 2.5 plus Cincinnati against Cincinnati at home. Here's a little trivia question for you since I got a bunch of trivia questions for you. The Browns have won how many games in a row against the Bengals at home?
How many games against the Bengals? I was about to say 3?
5. They've won 5 games in a row. The last time the Browns lost to the Bengals at home was when they were 0-16 and they lost to everybody at home and away. So that's been a long time. The last time that Cleveland lost to Cincinnati at home, Joe Burrow was a sophomore at Ohio State, and Jamar Chase was a senior at Archbishop Rummel High School in Metairie. That goes to show you how long ago that's been. All right, those are 2 of my picks. I'm going to go with Miami and the Chargers over 51. I almost took Miami because I think they're going to win this football game. But then I started looking into it, and I really think that both of these teams are looking to get off to a hot start. I don't like either one of these teams' defense. Both of these coaches are offensive-minded. I think both Tua and Justin Herbert are going to have very good games. Austin Eckler is going to try to get out of the gate. Raheem Mostert on the other side. And Tyreek Hill could have a banner day. I love this game to be, Spencer, it could be in the 30s, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jim. I think that's going to be a shootout. That's the other total at Caesars that's over 50 points. The Chargers Dolphins. Yeah, I like that to be a shootout. Herbert has the highest passing yardage prop of the week at 294.5, and yeah, I'll take that over. I think he throws for 350. I think he threw for 350 plus last year against Miami, so I don't see why he won't again this year.
Gabe Henderson with some breaking news for us, by the way. And see, there's a reason why we stayed on longer than usual. Travis Kelce is now officially out. So that does not change my thinking. It's still Patrick Mahomes. I'm still taking the Chiefs -4.5. Also, I got 2 more quick ones for you. I like Dallas -3.5 over the Giants. The Cowboys have won 11 out of the past 12 in this series, including 4 in a row. And 9 of those 11 have come by 7 or more points, including 28-20 last year, 23-16 last year. I love Dak Prescott this year. I think he's going to have a great rebound year. You want to talk about somebody taking receipts? Dak Prescott's going to be taking receipts. I'm looking for him to have a big day. And then my last one, an upset special, money line. Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the San Francisco 49ers at home. I think the 49ers, even though Bosa has signed his contract and he's getting 30-something million a year or whatever the heck it is, I think Brock Purdy, I don't think if we know if he's fully healthy yet. I also think the 49ers are a little bit of a mess right now. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Remember last year, I know Zoe remembers San Francisco's opener last year in Chicago in the muck and the mire. Didn't go so well for the Niners. Eventually, I think they'll be okay, but I think Pittsburgh is a team that could surprise a lot of people. I wish I would have been a little bit higher on them in my preview. I said they'd win 10 games, but still finish third in the division because the division is so tough. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, and I like them to win their opener.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I think they could do well there. I mean, yeah, the 49ers don't always start off well. You know, Brock Purdy be 100% coming off the elbow? So, yeah, I could definitely see Pittsburgh pulling that upset.
First time since 2014, Spencer. You get nuggets when you read the NFL picks column every week. First time since 2014, the Pittsburgh Steelers have opened the season at Heinz Field. That is kind of crazy if you think about it. It has been 9 years, 10 seasons since the Steelers have opened the year at home, and they get to do that this year. Well, guess what we're going to do? They're opening the season at home. we're closing the show right now. It's been a good show. Final thoughts.
Yeah, man, just can't wait to get this show on the road. Chiefs, Lions, rocking with the Lions tonight. We'll see how that goes. Travis Kelce being out definitely helps that cause. But yeah, excited to get the real action going. And the Saints this weekend going to be in the Dome with you, Jim. Excited for that. Sunday at noon, going to see what the Saints team's made of, and then Tulane on Saturday. So yeah, it's exciting.
It is going to be a lot of fun for us. We're supposed to have a Datitude podcast this morning, our first picks show of the year with Uncle Big Nick. But Uncle Big Nick's had some issues, some family issues, and he could not make it this morning. So we will do our first show next week. Tomorrow morning, we'll have a Datitude podcast. Larry Holder of The Athletic will be joining me every Friday morning. That starts tomorrow. We'll talk about not just the Saints, but some of our thoughts about what's going on in the NFL. I will make some picks as well. Larry will make some picks. We used to have picks he does Friday back in the day when we worked together at NOLA.com, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Also, I will announce on the podcast itself, not the live version, but on the podcast, I will give you Uncle Big Nick's picks as well and my official 5 picks for the week. And then we'll be back to normal starting on Monday, Thursday, and Friday next week. Datitude 3 times a week. And then also tomorrow, I will finish it up, wrap up the 32 NFL team previews with the New Orleans Saints. I will tell you who I think is going to win the NFC South. Will it be the Panthers? Will it be the Saints? If you watch them, I've already picked the Panthers to be ahead of Atlanta. Well, I picked the Saints to be ahead of Carolina. You'll have to find out tomorrow on all these same channels. A last reminder to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. So many of you have already, and we thank you for doing that. You'll always be notified when there's a new show. For Spencer the Guru Urquhart, for Zoe Collinsworth, I am Jim Derry. Have a wonderful NFL opening night. We'll see you on Datitude tomorrow and on Bayou Bets again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Peace and love. Oh, God, what a cluster.
It says we're still live.
No, we're not.
Okay.